Welcome to this week's episode of the iPPi Insider, Season 2, Episode 3. We're here with guest Shane O'Callaghan in Slorgan on a gloomy day. Shane is doing great things at the moment. He's growing the business further with new sales agents and new apprentices as well. Am I right, Shane?
Yeah, that's correct.
So you're very welcome.
Thanks a million.
How's it all going?
It's been good and it's been interesting, I suppose. A lot of people are kind of wondering on the back of COVID what way things would go. In my view, things have picked up very, very quickly. Now, a large proportion of our work here, as you're aware, is obviously management. So that would be block management and residential management, and really that stuff never gets not busy, if that makes sense. So COVID, people still have to be paid, landlords. There was an awful lot of time spent on rent collection and also rent negotiation. Obviously, many of our tenants were struggling and had lost jobs, so we were negotiating temporary rent decreases for some of these people, and in other cases, the tenants got a rent-free period altogether. And actually now we're busy again with that as COVID is not coming to an end. It will always be there, but the crisis period is over, so we're trying to get those tenants and restore parity and restore what they were paying in rent previous. So that's kind of ongoing, obviously through COVID as well. Things break, things go wrong. So we were busy on that front. On the blocks, similarly, you're still obliged to pay your management fee. Essential services had to be run into many of those buildings. To start, we were organising sanitation and all that kind of stuff, of course. So obviously then the sales market kind of ground to a halt, and certainly the lettings market too, but that's come back very, very quickly. So really busy, really positive, and that's good.
Brilliant. So in terms of, you obviously had a couple of different challenges that have arisen during COVID.
Yeah.
How did tech play a part in that piece for you? I mean, you obviously had a stack of it.
Yeah, well, as you know, I've talked about tech with you before, and we've been investing in that for a long, long, long time. So I suppose maybe there's two aspects we could look at it first, I suppose. So first maybe would be in relation to viewings. So obviously viewings of sales and lettings property ground to a halt in the early part of COVID. Now, everybody's in lockdown initially and was doing nothing. But then come April, come May, people had to start thinking about the future and where they're going to be in 3 or 4 months. So I suppose what we'd be, for the sales, for quite a long time we've invested in obviously video. Matter report would be another huge one to give people a real sense of what they're buying. So that would have been kind of ongoing anyway. So we were doing obviously virtual viewings kind of come April, May. What I found on the letting side also, we would done an awful lot of live viewings through Zoom. So really people get a sense of what they're buying or what they're going to rent without physically having to come to the property and expose themselves to potential danger of COVID. So that was the tech on the viewing side and sales and lettings. Again, on the management side, we've been investing in tech here for a number of years. So we've a number of apps and tech in place where basically people can log maintenance issues. So that would mean, for example, say for example, a fridge stops working. You can go onto our website, or we have other tech like Fix Photo that I can speak about again. You can go and log the issue, put up a photo, put up a contact number. So that means I don't have to go out to physically view a property and again endanger myself or the tenant. It can all be uploaded and then we can deal with it really online.
Brilliant.
So it's been crucial really to running our business, and it's going to become more and more crucial going forward, I guess.
Brilliant. So then in terms of the legislation, you've obviously touched on a number of pieces online. What are your thoughts on how the government are handling the whole?
I think as a rule, I think COVID was handled very, very well. We went to lockdown, that was a necessity. The phased approach coming back, I think, has been very, very positive. I think anybody that follows me on LinkedIn, I suppose, I have lots and lots of bugbears about some of the legislation that's out there, and some of the really, I think there's very little protection for landlords. Obviously through COVID then we have rent freezes, which I think made sense. I don't think any huge landlord had a huge issue with that during COVID. Now I think rent freezes generally or rent caps make sense as long as your property is at market rent. For many, many people that their property isn't at market rent, so they're really being discriminated against in many ways. The second part of it, and obviously there was a freeze on evictions throughout COVID. That's probably gone on longer than it should have. I think things are changing just now, but I mean that's just crazy stuff that a landlord can't sell their own house, or maybe has a tenant that's not paying rent, and they should be able to deal with that in a legislative manner. But that probably has gone on further than it should have. Yeah.
Okay, and then going on to the sales side, obviously you're keen on building out a team. You've got guys starting in the next number of weeks, and that's another arm of the business that you've seen grow over the period. Do you see this as a time to gain market share for your sales side? I mean,
yeah. Look, for anybody that will follow us on social media over the coming week, we've just taken on a highly experienced sales agent, so news will follow on that, I hope. And indeed, one of our own in-house staff has been promoted to senior sales negotiator. So we intend on attacking the market quite strongly in South Dublin. We're doing an awful lot of work on the social media front and investing in that also. So yeah, there's people are selling, and I wouldn't put anybody off selling. You know, especially this time of year is great. So yeah, we're going to have a right go at attacking that and trying to build the sales side. So the property management has always been really, really strong for us here. The sales side is probably something that I'm looking at building at the moment.
Brilliant. In terms of any other, you know, bites on the market that you're seeing on the front line, let's say, how do you find, you know, sellers are looking? What are they looking for? Are they looking for?
Yeah, I suppose the big question at the moment is what I'm finding. We're getting an awful lot of inquiries in terms of valuation, so people wondering what their property actually is worth. So, you know, there was plenty of doom and gloom, particularly in the media during COVID. Prices will be down. I've seen figures of up to 25%, which I'm not seeing that whatsoever. I think without question the first time buyers market is held, so anything up to 500,000. We're seeing competitive bidding. I think anything over 500,000 was probably slow pre-COVID anyway, so that's going to be a little bit people hedging their bets. The investor market's probably been a little bit slower as well. So if you're buying a 1 or a 2 bed apartment, you know, yield is obviously huge for an investor. If property prices are going to fall a little bit, 5-10%, you know, people are going to hang back there, maybe probably a little bit further. Yeah, people want to know what their property is worth, and you know, yeah, that's where I'm finding most of our inquiries at the moment.
You're obviously using iPPi for your valuations, and for both. You know, I know the guys, Ralph and the other team, are using it for their blue books.
Yeah. Great product. I suppose what's key for me, look, as any agent, what's it about? It's about our time and how well we spend our time and being working smart. So effectively now, iPPi, I can produce a valuation in 5 minutes. Bang! It looks great. I can do a valuation in advance, maybe. So you know, if maybe I'm coming to say a generic type apartment, I can have a valuation in advance because I'll be pretty sure what the property is worth before I get there. So I can turn up looking smart with a brochure, hand it to the vendor. He's more inclined, obviously, then to come to me and looking really smart. Perhaps then it's a house, it'd be a bit different than an apartment. The value could be vary 50-60,000 maybe, depending on money spent on the house. So I can then produce a valuation very, very quickly in retrospect and pass it on. So sure, it's great. It makes me look good, and I'm sure that's what you want at the end of the day. Trying to win instructions, yeah.
That's it. In terms of any sort of, you know, new procedures you're putting in place, like you can see you're doing a lot on the digital marketing. You know, you're looking at different angles. You know, taking instructions maybe off social media. You know, where do you see the market moving to? Do you see it moving from, and I don't want to, you know, I want to address the elephant in the room, or do you see a turn from the portals, or where do you see?
Yeah, look, I suppose we have a busy high street premises here in Stillorgan, but I think every year on year, we're here 10 years now. We bought the business from an existing agent who's here 30. So Casey Kennedy are in fact here in Stillorgan in 30. But every year for the last 10 years, I've seen less and less footfall, I suppose, walking in through the door. Now, mature area, it's a little bit different. We get a bit of it. Obviously, you know, elderly people are still very much dealing face to face. But no question, you know, leads now are effectively coming through many of our social media channels, coming through our website. We've got a great chat function in there. We use Drift obviously to deal with that, which is great. We get lots of inquiries coming in through social media. I've even had inquiries through Instagram, inquiries through Facebook, obviously. So, you know, the dynamic is changing as people are becoming more and more tech savvy. Which is obviously interesting, and that presents challenges. And we need to continue to invest on that tech side to ensure that we're up to spec and that inquiries will come.
Brilliant. Looking at, I know we're jumping from
That's all right.
back and forth. Let's just say if we were to look, 3 or 4 months down the line, do you see massive dip in the market, or do you think it's going to, like, just looking at, let's say the UK is after a massive recession?
Yeah.
It's written in the history books as one of the worst. Surely there's going to be a global impact that this is going to have in direct correlation in Ireland.
Yeah, well, obviously, if the economy is affected, there's very, very knock-on effect is that the housing market is affected, and usually the housing market is also, if the housing market is struggling, that's also indicative of the economy struggling. Look, at the moment, I don't see it. That's not to say it won't happen, but we set prices appear to be holding, and again, when the housing prices are held, that's generally indicative of the economy going okay. So look, it's very, very difficult to know what's going to happen with COVID. We obviously had lockdown elsewhere in the country earlier in the week. It almost seems inevitable that something like that would happen in Dublin, and certainly lockdowns are going to affect things. It's come back very, very quickly, but if you're in lockdown, there's no transactions. No viewings, no transactions, and again, all of that has a knock-on effect. At the moment, I don't see it personally just now. But again, that's second-guessing health stuff, which, it's not the way.
Yeah, well, we are 2 meters apart here, and we're both under 38 degrees, so we're obeying by our government.
That's something I suppose we didn't touch on just finally, quickly maybe, obviously, is, so when we're emailing anybody to come to a viewing, whether it's a letting or it's a sale, we're encouraging people to wear PPE. I myself, at the start, I'm masked up, and we've got soap and stuff when people arrive. I've got a stand, so that's, like, if you think last January, if you go back 8 months, if I thought I was doing kind of that kind of thing, it just almost seems crazy. But we're continue to encourage social distancing, continue to encourage people wearing PPE coming to viewings, and so even like an open viewing, I suppose, where traditionally an agent would have advertised an open viewing at 10 o'clock on a Saturday morning, and 20 people would turn up and walk through the house. Obviously, all that's different now. It's one at a time. I'm queuing people and social distancing down the road and the driveway. So
I think it's forming a demand for properties, seeing that.
It's kind of what you wanted in the past. You wanted lots of people. You wanted a bit of a buzz and a bit of excitement. I suppose queuing has become a way of life now, hasn't it? Really. So. I don't necessarily agree with that sentiment, but I suppose again, a lot of the people, that's a great, we talked about earlier, that's a great use of video. I suppose people can actually see a property well in advance, and they probably know if it's them or not. So that open viewing of 20 people is now probably 10 people, because 10 people come in themselves.
Letting them before they even see the property.
Yeah.
Okay, well, listen, thanks very much for your time today.
Thanks,
I'll leave Shane's details in the comments, and if anyone has any sales inquiries or any property management or lettings, do reach out to Shane. He's playing a blinder here, and thanks very much, and tune in again next week.
Thanks, Ken.